So our first speaker is Sayo Okunloye from, I believe, TTU. And the title of her talk is Dialectical Tension Surrounding CI. So welcome, Sayo.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. And I'm going to briefly talk about dialectical tensions surrounding CI. Here's a brief of what I'm going to talk about. We're going to define dialectical tensions, and then I'm going to talk about motivations that from previous research and why dialectical tensions surrounding CI. And I'll present a research question, like our question that will guide the study. And then because we've been on this study, I'm going to share some findings and then the significance of dialectical tension surrounding CI. So pretty much that's what I have here. Okay. Yes. So what are dialectical tensions? So I put here a picture of if you can think of a stepfather and a biological father. Now those two are equally important, but there could be tensions based on based off their roles, based off the expectations of their daughter or their child, their son, in terms of who walks the girl down the aisle and stuff like that. So dialect dialectical tensions are connected to each other, but they are opposing forces in concept. So how you know dialectical tensions is that they are connected to each other, and so those tensions actually provide opportunity for growth. But if they're not properly managed, they could be they could cause chaos, and so that's why they're important to be studied. So down narrowing down to CI, CI is a complex system. Talk about the hardware, software. Sorry, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. Okay. So you talk about the hardware, you talk about the software, and you talk about the people. So if you talk to some CI staff, they are going to tell you that people are important to make it work. It's not just about the hardware, it's not about the materials, no, it's not just about the technologies, but people, a lot of people are making it work. And so CI is a complex system. And then talking about the research as well, you work with a lot of people from different backgrounds, and and um, and that's what sometimes created tensions, and tensions that have been identified from previous research, like in Key and Brownie, uh, based off funding. Basically, they found tensions in the individual levels, organizational levels, and institutional levels. Like NSF is funding in the institutional level, for instance, NSF is funding science, it's funding new science discoveries, and at the same time, they're not funding technologies. So this is kind of the tension that Key and Brownie found out, and they saw it as opportunities to grow and to maybe provide some more effective policies. And another good example at the individual level will be to build a tenor case, do more of CI research so that, you know, uh, CI staff can be promoted, or to do what is needful, what CI needs to grow, like for the greater good. So these are the tensions that Key and Brownie talked about. But we found that these tensions are based off of funding, more about the money. Um, Even though we know that funding is a crucial part of CI, CI cannot succeed without the funding. So, but we are looking at it in a more wide spectrum. There are other tensions that surround CI, and that is what uh, this study is looking at. So the research question that we're asking, can you move to the next slide? Is what dialectical tensions do CI professionals attempt to navigate when discussing research practices relating to CI technologies? So permit me to add that this idea is not just my idea. Myself and my colleague Cassandra Ives, she's going to be presenting another paper in maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Yes. So yes. So we saw that this question would cover more tensions, talk about more tensions aside from the already identified one, which is funding. And we have some tensions apart from funding already listed. Could you move to the next slide? Okay. So one of these tensions are either is both working with multidisciplinary fields, people from bioscience, computer science, engineering, a lot come together. So working with people with multidisciplinary fields and with different ontological perspectives and research paradigms. So, and it's still this same technologies in CI that we're dealing with, the hardware, the software, everyone with different research paradigms working with this. So this can create inherent tensions. And another one is, in CI, professionals who are, for example, from computer science, some of them may be more highly motivated, and because of that, they fall in the category of what the diffusion of innovation theory describes as early adopters. That is, they are like the ones that diffuse CI, talk about CI, and encourage the use of CI tools. And then they have to work with people who are on the right or on the low level of just coming into CI. So, and this could create inherent changes, like maybe slow them down. And then, so they can either decide to like work with those who are in the same early adopter category, you know, people who have the same backgrounds, who are also, diffusing CI, or they can either, or they can decide to work with people who are just joining CI or learning about CI. So this is another inherent tension we found. Another one, which is really important, is the data sharing, um, or 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 data protection. Let's look at it that way. So look at it like this: is it to conceal data or to review data? So for data to be managed well, to be properly managed by all the users, um, people have to, it has to be protected. And at the same time, uh, staff worry that um, when you're trying to get a lot of people to use tools, you know, there is there is probability that it can get corrupted, and they're trying to make sure that does not happen. So there's an inherent tension in, making data readily available, easily accessible by uh, users. by a lot of users, and then protecting it, and the desire to like protect it to make sure it doesn't get corrupted or handled in a way that others don't get to use it again. So I think that we have two more. Can you put the next slide? Yes. So based off this security, I think I remember a transcript really talking about people who need to do the job, who need to work on protecting um, this resources, this data, and then uh, they have to put their research on hold. They have to take maybe like 6 months off their research just to work on protecting this data. So there's an inherent tension on that, between focusing on shifting their responsibilities, focusing on the research, doing what they need to do versus doing what they want to do, which is the research. So, and then the last we found out is making, okay, I think I mentioned it with making resources accessible and compatible to the work of everyone. Um, yes, I think I described these earlier. So basically, these were the tensions we found out, and we're still trying to like shape it into a more um, a clearer kind of tension, and then we will be able to come up with our paper. So uh, the significance of understanding CI, can you put on the next slide, is that we know that CI values data sharing. We know that CI values multidisciplinary research, and we know that CI values the growth, diffusing CI, making it available and accessible to more users. And then, but we also know that CI worries about uh, the protection of these data. We know that CI worries about these tensions, especially when I say CI worries, I'm talking about people in CI worry about this tension. And we believe that findings from this research will help them to embrace these dialectical tensions and maybe create policies or a more effective working environment for multidisciplinary research and for people on different levels of the diffusion curve, whether they are early adopters, those who are highly motivated, or the people who are lagging behind or just coming into CI. And ultimately, it will lead to the wide diffusion of CI. So um, that's it for now. Thank you. Um,
Thank you so much, Sayo. This is a great presentation. And I think you illustrated a lot of points, very interesting points, especially about the tension of the various tensions. But the one that resonated with me particularly is the need to kind of do what you have to do versus what you want to do. So science versus protecting data, for example. And in our work, we've been trying to provide these automation tools to make it easier for scientists to focus on what they want to focus on rather than the kind of nitty gritty. And so I was wondering, from your work, what do you think would be helpful for scientists, in terms of making that job easier to protect the data, or do you have any ideas on that, or how can we maybe sometimes scientists get the tools but they don't know how to best use them, so can we help them in some way to adopt the tools, or can you talk a little bit about that?
yes, thank you for that question. So I think that what CI can do is to probably train more people who would work directly with what needs to be done. I see we talk about CI because CI is really complex, and a lot of hardware, software, technology, materials that people have to deal with sometimes can be very difficult to teach and to even handle. And I understand that is why maybe a few ends are doing what needs to be done, and then have to put their own research on hold. So if people can be trained to do what needs to be done, maybe CI researchers can focus more on their research, and yes, they will maybe have more time to focus on their research, and then create at least an optimum time to train those who need to do what needs to be done. Protect data, ensure policies are implemented, and then there could be some kind of balance.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions for Sayo? Just checking here.
Yeah, while you're checking, I have one quick question. And I really like these insights because for me, it comes directly from another perspective that we are not used to see because we are so much into the CI world. So I love this presentation. One thing that I liked a lot is when you mentioned about the being human and superhuman. And how do you see the way that we as maybe people coming as the managers, how they could try to break this barrier? Because sometimes I just have the feeling when we talk with the people doing the core CI, they always think people are asking too much from us. And how do you think that would be a way try to break this barrier and send this message to the managers?
Let me rephrase. I'm trying to grab a hold of that question. So are you referring to when I talked about the tension between working with people or maybe computer science based, who are the front or on the front seat of, okay, versus working with people who are just coming in. So I don't really know how this can be done. I believe that there is a system that is enforced already for people who are joining CI. So maybe some kind of orientation and some kind of uniform. How do I put this? Maybe some kind of uniform policies that people coming into CI from different backgrounds can be trained in, so that regardless of their big backgrounds and regardless of the levels of motivation they have, they can work with that. And maybe when managers or admin find that, okay, at this level, they are growing from the bottom, and there should be some kind of criteria, like they have worked to maybe achieve, and then they can always from that point move to the next level. And it's going to have to be a gradual process.